So if you were sitting on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to drop and prices to crash before buying a home in Lakewood Ranch, well then you are watching the wrong thing, and that mistake is costing buyers real leverage every single month. Now, that does not mean that interest rates don't matter. It does not mean that price does not matter. They definitely do. Most buyers have been trained to wait for a clean signal, a moment where the decision feels obvious, a moment where the market permits them to actually move. Lower rates, cheaper prices, a headline that finally says, okay, now it's safe. Here is the harsh truth. By the time the market feels obvious, you have already missed the leverage. What buyers rarely want to admit is this: they are not waiting for a better market, they're waiting to feel less uncomfortable. And Lakewood Ranch is definitely not a market that rewards comfort. What creates opportunity here right now is not a market crash, a correction, or a dramatic split. It's actually something far less visible and far more useful. It's people needing resolution. Sellers whose plans didn't age well, moves that made sense at one interest rate and not at another, timelines that don't care what buyers are waiting for. That kind of pressure does not show up in charts or in headlines. It shows up in conversations, flexibility, and decisions that happen quietly while most buyers are still staring at rate graphs. And that's the part that buyers miss. Currently, buyers in Lakewood Ranch can be divided into two distinct groups, and the gap between them is widening. The first group, they're just waiting. They're watching mortgage rates like they're a scoreboard. They're reading articles every morning, hoping for confirmation. They're telling themselves that they're being disciplined, they're being rational, and they're being patient. And for a little while, that waiting kind of feels responsible. It feels like protection. It feels like avoiding a costly mistake. But here's the uncomfortable truth that most buyers don't want to face. Waiting kind of feels smart until it quietly turns into inactivity. Because nothing about waiting guarantees a better outcome, it just delays the decision. The second group, they're not braver, they're not reckless, they're not ignoring risk or pretending rates don't matter, they're just paying attention to something completely different. They're watching motivation. They understand that Lakewood Ranch is not one clean, unified market moving in a single direction. It never really is, and it certainly is not now. This market is fragmented. Some sellers are fine, some are stretched, some builders can wait, some absolutely cannot. And fragmented markets do not reward buyers who wait for global signals. They actually punish them. They reward buyers who notice misalignment, timelines that don't match reality, expectations that quietly shifted, sellers who need resolution even if they don't say it out loud. And that is where leverage lives right now. Not in headlines, not in rate forecasts, and not in waiting for the market to make everybody comfortable again. There are sellers in Lakewood Ranch right now who need to sell, not eventually, not if the price is right, not, well, let's see what happens, right now. Moves that made sense when rates were 2 to 3 points lower. Job transfers that didn't line up cleanly. Life changes that don't care how confident buyers really feel. And those sellers, they don't announce urgency, they don't hang signs that said, hey, we're motivated, and they don't tell you that they're under pressure. But they definitely feel time, and time changes behavior, even in Lakewood Ranch. It shows up in the way conversations lose their edge, and how quickly no turns into maybe, in flexibility that wasn't there a month ago. You start to hear it when the price isn't the first thing they defend anymore. You see it when timing, certainty, and clean solutions matter more than squeezing every last dollar. That pressure never shows up on a chart. It doesn't make headlines. It shows up across the table. Then there are the homes that are just sitting on the market, not because they're bad homes, not because Lakewood Ranch suddenly stopped being desirable. They're sitting because they came out priced for a version of demand that no longer exists, and the market didn't do the work that the seller expected it to do. That's probably worth repeating for the sellers or potential sellers who are watching this video. They are sitting because they came out priced for a version of demand that no longer exists. So at first, sellers, they're feeling confident, then they're patient, and then they start counting the days instead of the offers. They watch other homes sell, they notice which ones don't linger, and quietly, they start recalculating what actually matters. And this is where buyers tend to misunderstand price reductions. And price drops don't mean that there's something wrong with the house. They mean that something shifted for the seller. They mean fatigue. They mean expectations collided with reality. And in Lakewood Ranch, leverage almost never comes from desperation. It comes from fatigue. It comes from sellers who are tired of waiting, tired of uncertainty, tired of carrying a plan that did not work. But leverage doesn't feel comfortable when you're stepping into it. Acting on fatigue means moving before everything feels settled. It means making an offer while other buyers are still debating, still waiting for reassurance, still hoping that the market will explain itself. And then there's new construction, and we all know in Lakewood Ranch there is just a ton of new construction, and this is not the billboard version, not the balloons and grand opening versions, the quiet side that buyers rarely see. Inventory homes that were supposed to be gone months ago, deadlines buyers aren't meant to notice, pressure that never makes it into the marketing materials. And builders, they don't panic publicly, they don't advertise stress, they solve problems privately with the buyers who are paying attention. And if you're only watching headlines or rate charts, you missed that entire layer of the market, the part where real flexibility actually lives. And this is why treating Lakewood Ranch like one single market does not work anymore. There isn't just one story, there isn't just one trend, there isn't one right moment. There are dozens of small situations happening right now at the same exact time. Some sellers, they are firm and they can wait. Some are flexible and don't want to say it out loud. Some builders have time, some staring at deadlines that they'd rather not explain. Buyers who wait for everything to line up miss all of it. I'm going to say that again. Buyers who wait for everything to line up miss all of it because nuance doesn't announce itself and hesitation does not arrive loudly. It settles in quietly, not all at once, not dramatically, gradually. Buyers start second guessing things that wouldn't have mattered before. They fixate on minor flaws. They talk themselves out of homes that they would have felt good about 6 months ago, not because the homes got worse, because uncertainty got louder. They assume that more time will bring clarity, more showings, more data, more perspective. But here's the truth. Clarity rarely comes from time. It comes from understanding motivation. Buying smart in Lakewood Ranch in 2026 is not about finding the perfect house. That perfect house rarely exists. It is about recognizing when a good house becomes negotiable. And that is a completely different question. Not is it perfect, but is it workable? Is the seller flexible? Is the timing real? Is there room to solve something instead of waiting for the market to solve it for you? And those are leverage questions. And the buyers who struggle right now, they're not unprepared. They're approved. They've done the research. They're serious. They are trapped between two fears: moving too fast and waiting too long. And those fears cancel each other out. So nothing happens. And meanwhile, other buyers are quietly solving problems. They're not trying to time the market. They're not waiting for certainty. They are not pretending that risk does not exist. They're responding to motivation. They're negotiating reality as it actually shows up, not as they wish it would. And that is why this market feels so confusing to people who are watching from the sidelines. Because the rules did not disappear, they just fractured. And once a market fragments, generic advice just stops working. There is no perfect signal coming. There is no moment where doubt fades and everything feels clean. And what shows up instead is a situation. One house, one seller, one set of circumstances that either make sense or it doesn't. And then the real decision isn't whether or not the market feels right, it's whether the situation does. And the buyers who move forward right now don't feel certainty, they just feel enough alignment, enough motivation on the other side, enough clarity to act, even if the broader market feels unresolved. Because make no mistake about it, it is February 2026, and today somebody listed their house for sale, and today a buyer and seller came to terms and agreed on a price and went into escrow, and today a house sold. Those buyers are not waiting for doubt to disappear. They have accepted that doubt is just part of the decision. Buying a home in Lakewood Ranch in 2026 is not about predicting where the market goes next. It is about recognizing leverage while things still feel unsettled, because unsettled markets are where the leverage quietly lives. Now, don't get me wrong, waiting for certainty definitely feels safe. It feels responsible, but certainty almost always arrives after the opportunity has already passed. Most buyers, they're not gonna miss buying a home. They're gonna eventually buy something. If you are trying to decide whether buying in Lakewood Ranch in 2026 makes sense for you, the question isn't whether the market feels perfect, it's whether a specific situation is workable and whether there's real motivation on the other side. And that is not something that the headlines or rate charts can tell you. It comes from understanding the seller, the timing, and the pressure that doesn't show up online. So if you want to talk through that calmly, objectively, without any pressure, my contact information is down below. No predictions, No sales pitch, just a clear conversation about whether the situation actually makes sense. My name is Adam Miller with the 941 Lifestyle Group. I'm a real estate agent right here in Lakewood Ranch. Do me a big favor, smash that like button, drop a comment down below. And if you want to see more truth bombs like this, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one.